record.
We're recording.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I would like to call this meeting to order of the Arts Commission of the City of Santa Fe. Today is December 13th, 2021. We were supposed to start this meeting at 5 p.m. It is now 5:10, so we're going to get on with it. Roll call, please.
Alma Castro, Chair,
Here.
Ann Wrinkle,
Here.
Rashawn Ahmed Morris,
Here.
Messia Mikulak,
Here.
Paul Holton,
Here.
Jennifer Villela,
Here.
Jorge Bernal,
Here.
and 2 vacancies. You do have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Martin. So the next thing on our agenda is the approval of last meeting's agenda for November 15th. Does anybody have any discussion points on the minutes?
You're on the agenda, Madam Chair. The agenda approvals first.
I apologize, on the agenda. Okay, so I move that we do approve this agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Castro,
Yes.
Commissioner Wrinkle,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Mikulak,
Yes.
Commissioner Holton,
Yes.
Commissioner Villela,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernal.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Awesome. Now we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Did everyone get a chance to review the minutes from last meeting? Now, I did have a little bit of, I guess it's a question. I know we can't change minutes from the past, but it will be amended in these, correct?
If you have amendments to make, you would make them today. The minute we don't go back and make the changes to the minutes officially. So anyone who you want to see the corrections would have to see the next minutes. Let me say 2 things since it's the first time we've done this. We don't do verbatim minutes, so you're not going to see that in here. None of the city committees are done verbatim. And the second thing is that you're not allowed to make any changes to the phrasing, as it has to be what you said in the meeting, because it's an open meeting, so you can't change the way you said something. It has to be what's on the tape. And that's pretty critical because we can't, if you think you didn't make sense, you can't change it. Does that make sense? Okay.
And we did have a little, Commissioner Holton.
Yes, if we have to, is there a transcript, a full transcript that's made?
I have a recording, but it's not made public.
How are we, if, and this is hypothetical, but how are we to make changes if it has to be in exact language on the recording if we don't have access to that?
Well, the recording is exactly what you said in the meeting. If you don't think you said if I put something that you don't think you said, then I would go back and check the recording. And if the recording matches, then there will be no change made.
Right, but there's not a written transcript. We would have to listen to the entire recording. Is that what you're saying?
No, you have to go by what I put in the minutes. If something I put in the minutes is not correct, then you can tell me that. And we can change it as long as it agrees with the recording. These are not verbatim minutes again. They're summarizing for the most part.
Okay.
Or important points.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the process. And
Yeah, I know, and that's fine. And it's done the same way for all the city meetings. It's not picking on you. Just
all right.
new
Okay.
new board members and commissioners always have these questions. So no problem, Commissioner.
Commissioner
Okay.
Mikulak.
Yes, so what I'm understanding, following up on Commissioner Holton's statement, is that if we want to hear exactly what we said, we have to go back and listen to the tape.
Yeah, and I don't share those tapes necessarily. I'd have to get permission to do that, but
So we
What?
would contact you, get permission to review the tape.
No,
No.
no, that, we don't ever do that. That is not done. You need to look at what is on the minutes. If you don't think the minutes that I give you are correct, then you need to tell me and I will look at the tape and see if it is not the same. We don't send tapes back and forth. You're looking at the minutes that
I
I'm.
wouldn't think you would send them, but they might be available for the commission to hear.
No,
That's
they
okay.
are not.
I
No,
think
they
Ms.
are
Tapia
not.
might have a clarifying point.
Yes, Chair and Commissioner Mikulak, the version of the YouTube video is also available. So the recording, if you want to go back, you can go back and review that
Thank
on the
you.
city YouTube page.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion on how we take minutes or what we're approving when we approve the minutes? Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from last meeting?
I had one question and I have reviewed the minutes. As far as the revised, there was to be some revision of the ordinance that's being proposed by the department for our review and comment and approval. When are we going to get those and in what form are they going to be provided to us?
It's on the agenda. We're gonna have an update about that later in the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
But in terms of the minutes for last meeting, can I have, does anyone want to make a motion to approve those?
So moved. I move that we approve the minutes as circulated.
I guess I'll go ahead and second.
Okay, do the roll call vote. Commissioner Castro,
Yes.
Commissioner Rinkle,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Mikulak,
Yes.
Commissioner Holton,
Yes.
Commissioner Villela,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernal.
I have to abstain. Was not part of the meeting. And I read it. I know who said what, according to you, Elizabeth, but I can't approve something that wasn't part of the meeting. So I have to abstain.
That's fine. Thank you.
Right.
And motion passes. And I just want to say, I'm not trying to be too strict here. It's just the process of how minutes are done for the city. So
And we appreciate your help. We're all
Thank you.
trying to figure it out.
I know.
So next on our agenda, we have matters from the chair. And as far as I'm concerned, I only have one, which is updating folks regarding the open call for the Arts Commission vacancies, which are 2. I did, with the help of Ms. Tapia, kind of put together something that we're going to put out as a press release and we'll share with you as part of a packet at the end of this meeting. We did get the email for the open call. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about those vacancies or the open call?
Yes.
Commissioner Rinkle.
I just got that today, so I haven't looked at it closely, but I noticed in the minutes, it says that we will be asking for a letter of interest and a resume. And then I gathered from the time before that we were going to do it more informally, more accessibly, with a answering the three or four questions. Can you just confirm? Can you just confirm which is the case based on those that dual bit of information, please?
Sure, I think Director Kamiyama might have some answers.
Chair Castro, Commissioner Wrinkle. Thank you so much for the clarifying question. So the initial call and the recruitment is for them to access SurveyMonkey, or they can request a hard copy questionnaire. They answer the questions, and once they are selected as recommended to arts commissioners, and we will then ask for a formal interest letter and a resume that then goes with them. but we're doing it like we did in the past, again, lowering the barrier to entry so that you're answering questions without having to present a formal resume at that point. So we won't ask that until the very end when those recommendations go forth to the city manager, the mayor, and then eventually the governing body for confirmation. So thank you for that question.
Commissioner Bennett?
Yes, my question, I think, is more, when I read the minutes and the suggestion that Commissioner Hilton mentioned about hiring or not hiring, or selecting, having included a Native American in the commissioner's, considered for the commissioner's seat. My question is, where do we draw the line, or how do we base our selection when it gets to, it's not going to be us, we're just recommending, members, but the way we choose a Caucasian, a Black, a Asian, or a Native American, where do we go? Are we selecting the best candidates? Or are we selecting by diverse? How diverse is the commissioners meeting? That's just something I want to bring up, because we need to think about this. And I agree with him. We should have. One of the issues we had last year with the monument and selection is having a Native American be part of this group. And I agree. But how do we go about that and selecting the best candidate, whether you're whatever racial background you have or your origins? How do we approach that?
I think one of the things that we discussed in the last meeting was that we wanted to have an intent of diversity, but that we also wanted to look at who was applying, because until we do kind of go through the steps of putting this new ordinance in order, we have limitations on who can apply and who can be on the commission at this point in time. They have to live in the city of Santa Fe, things like that. And so we are hoping that in the future we could be more inclusive, but right now we're kind of dealing with whoever is interested, and within that pool, we're going to do our darndest to be as inclusive as possible.
Okay, thank you, Alma.
Commissioner Hilton.
I think one thing that we talked about, and that was in the email that was circulated by Ms. Tapia, was that we can send this open call, the email, that we can and are encouraged to solicit people to apply. So hopefully that would, with this, relatively large group who have a lot of friends and colleagues in the community, if we're affirmative in reaching out to people, that we should get a very good pool of candidates, I would hope. But I think you raise a very good point, Commissioner Bernal, that that we need to be looking at the qualifications of the people and the whole group of people that we have to choose from. Hopefully we'll have some good choices. I think we will.
Commissioner Mikulak?
I believe last time we also talked about the fact that we could ask the mayor if he would contact the tribes, the communities that are indigenous. And I think it's really important to do so. So that would be my request.
Thank you.
Can I ask my question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So yes, and you know what? Alma, your last name's not here, and I'm looking around my documents.
I'm so sorry, Castro. I can put that.
Thank you, Chair
I'm sorry.
Castro. Thank you. I'm curious if somebody can help clarify the difference between how we are looking for new commissioners, or where we can look for them at this moment, as opposed to when the ordinance will be passed. What is the change?
So Andrea, Assistant Attorney Salazar, would you like to take that?
Thanks, Chair Castro. So I would look towards the ordinance that is currently in effect for any guidance as to how to memorialize or request interest, since we'll be talking about the ordinance and resolution later in the agenda, but since that is not passed and that is not currently the ordinance, I wouldn't use it as guidance. I would use what is currently in ordinance as guidance.
Could you tell us what the difference is?
Sure.
Or do you, okay.
Oh, what the difference is?
The difference
Um,
between what is the current location and how we reach out to potential new arts commissioners and what the proposed changes are in the future. What would change if that ordinance passes as it's been proposed?
You're gonna have to give me a moment. I'm sorry, Commissioner Viella. I'm gonna have to look it up to
That seems
share that
fine.
with you.
But I think, yeah, Director Kamiyama might have some insight.
Thank you, Chair Castro and Commissioner Villela. Great question. Currently, so the changes in the ordinance, the biggest change is that it specifies and calls out an intention to look at the surrounding pueblos around us. It's already stated in our current one as being within Santa Fe County. That doesn't change. It has to be within Santa Fe County, but we make that intention to go out to the northern New Mexico pueblos. The other big change is that we are looking at it's extending each term to 3 years versus 2 years. Again, the term states the same, October through October. And so most of you have come in, some of you have come in midterm, and others have come in at the October term. But it would, instead of 2-year terms, it would be eligible for 1 term of 3 years, a maximum of serving 2 terms. So that would be extending it from 4 years to 6 years. And we're trying to do that because we feel that would help stabilize the Arts Commission, as well as we know that it will take time to get everyone onboarded and get the feel of the culture feel. Those are the major changes.
Do you have a follow-up question, Commissioner Villela?
Sorry.
You're muted, Commissioner.
I do have a follow-up question, and that is, so you have extended the area in which potential Native American arts commissioners can live in, but you have not extended that for any other ethnic groups or people. Is that right?
Well, I think it's more membership than ethnicity, right? Because all kinds of different folks can live in those pueblos.
Sorry, Chair Castro, Commissioner Viella, to explain, we're asking that that everyone should reside in Santa Fe County. We're identifying that this includes the pueblos within Santa Fe County. So there are several pueblos within the county itself. So it's not exclusionary of other areas of the county, it's the entirety of the county. I would also like to explain that the proposal is to kind of broaden the definition of where you're looking at arts and culture. So we have a change to add fine arts, traditional art, performing arts, literary arts, digital media, music, and experts in the form of culture, including but not limited to culinary, social practice, history, and design or arts education. So it's a bit of a broader scope that we're looking at in the ordinance modifications. I did bring it up, so just wanted to make sure you all knew that.
I just want to bring attention that in the last meeting, we talked about this, Commissioner, but I didn't mention, but we did kind of want to focus on places where we felt that we were lacking. And I think that's one of the places that we're lacking.
I'm not 100% clear, Chairman Castro. So the people who can be nominated and we can add to the Arts Commission still have to live in Santa Fe County, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ringo, thank you for your patience.
Oh, I just sent an email. I wasn't on that list of email list that received the notice for the open call. But there's a typo in that should be corrected. And I've shared that with Armenia and Pauline.
Thank you. Mr. Lambert?
Yes, Chair Castro and Commissioner Villa. It's also important to note that with our intentions, with Culture Connects and our expansion of what the definition of culture is, there was some discussion about drawing out, as per Assistant City Attorney Salazar indicated, that there was an extension of, because before I think it mentions like an architect, it mentions general like 4 or 5 kind of categories of people who would be possible. So we're extending that definition to include a wider net. And there was some discussion as well of requesting that there is some distribution and representation among council districts as well, that if we can increase a diversity of council districts, so it's not just District 1 and 2, that we end up encouraging more participation from other districts. We can't specify that we have to have, one person from each district, but we're encouraging in the language that there is a wider representation on the commission.
Commissioner Holton?
Just so I'm sure that I understand how we're operating at this time, is that we're operating under the ordinance as it exists. There are some suggestions that have been made by staff about how things should be changed, but until there actually is a new ordinance that has been approved by the governing body, that we're dealing with what we have now. That said, I think there are some ideas that we can certainly entertain that have been discussed here, and it's within the discretion of the commission as to the things that they look at in terms of evaluating and putting forward a list of candidates to the mayor.
And later on in the agenda, we will be talking about those specific committees. But for now, this is just the call to kind of start recruiting folks. So we do have that wide pool from which to get that list to the mayor. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on that call? I know that Commissioner Wrinkle emailed you, Ms. Tapia, about that. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Tapia.
Yes, Chair and Commissioner Wrinkle, I did receive your email, just to let everyone know that open call announcement will be going out multiple times throughout the duration of the open call time period. So you will see that multiple times, and I will make sure that the list is updated to include everyone on there. It also does go out to our city council. So that email did go out to about 1,000 people through our constant contact, including the city council. So just to let everyone know. Thank you.
Sir Lambert.
Yes, Chair Castro and Commissioner Villela. Just wanted to let y'all know also, this is going to be going out. It's going to be posting every Friday on Facebook. Also leading up to the final date. There's a Spanish version and an English version, both going out on our Facebook page, scheduled, I think, at noon every Friday. The first one went out at 8 or 6 a.m. this past Friday, but it's going to be every Friday leading up to the actual deadline. So that's going out too.
Commissioner Villela.
Chair Castro and Rod, sorry. And we can all share it on Facebook is what I want to say, right? And try to get the word out there a little bit. So, okay.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things we're encouraging, and why I keep bringing it up in these meetings, is that even when we're not here, we still have our networks, and we should be reaching out to folks, anybody that we think would be appropriate, or anywhere that we're lacking. We should be encouraging folks to apply. So if we're okay to move on to the next item, it will be matters from the director. Director Kamiyama.
Great, thank you so much, Chair Castro and fellow arts commissioners. We are really excited to present to you the year in review, some highlights that we've been working on. You may have seen some of these from the public art and public places update, but we have compiled a deck for you, and Assistant Director Lambert and Ms. Tapia and I will be very pleased to show you that. So Amin, if you would share the screen, and we'll get that deck ready for you. And next slide. So this, again, as a department, this is our official vision, and vision is about providing leadership by and for the city. And we recommend the policies and programs that promote and develop artistic excellence in our community. Next slide. And we do that with the added layer of Culture Connects. So again, that document that was adopted by City Council governing body in 2016 laid out a series of recommendations. I continue to go back and reference not only the executive summary, but also the full document and the various recommendations. Some of those recommendations did include us moving from being under tourism to actually be a standing department. And that was done with a lot because of this document that was community centered, as well as the former previous Arts Commission to really do the advocacy for that. And what Culture Connects is really the driving force for us, and the vision is looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout all of the city, out through Santa Fe County. And that really helps us guide how we do for instance, our cultural investment funding applications, ways of lowering barriers so that we have a survey for arts commissioners who are interested versus a formal letter and interest. So that's, and resumes. So these are things that we are looking at, again, with that big umbrella lens of Culture Connects. Next slide. Armee, I'm going to hand this over to you. This is one of our this is a bulk of our budget and a really important program.
Thank you, Director Kamiyama. So I oversee the Cultural Investment Funding Program, which all of you have definitely heard about or been on a panel to review and approve these awards. Due to COVID-19, we used to have, I believe it was 4 programs, but due to COVID-19, we've had to restructure those programs because of the loss of 53% of lodgers tax and funds. So that changed from pre-COVID from 900,000 to 350,000 in fiscal year 21. So we distributed those funds accordingly and restructured our programs. For fiscal year 22, we revitalized the programs, created 2 categories: traditional impact, marketing impact, and digital collaborative impact, so TMI and DCI. Those traditional marketing impact really is focused around our original structure of funding, kind of more the traditional way, and digital collaborative impact focuses on the way that the world is structured now, going digital and having to revamp those programs to reach a more digital format. So those are the 2 programs that we currently have, that we had in fiscal year 21. We have also revised those in fiscal year 22, but as we're talking about fiscal year 21, there was 2 categories. Stuck. There we go. So digital collaborative impact challenges organizations to collaborate and create new visions of using digital programming or creating new ways of presentation via traditional media. This, once again, was designed to work in the new way of COVID, where people were not allowed to gather in person, but more so virtually online, and how to restructure programs to reach that, still reach the arts and reach the people, but through digital formats. In fiscal year 21, which ended on June 30th, 2021, we distributed funds to 28 local nonprofits arts organizations, and we are set in current year, fiscal year 22, to distribute over 400,000 through the program. Thus far, we have already awarded 250 to 19 local nonprofit arts organizations through traditional marketing impact, and are currently in the process of contracting for digital collaborative impact, which is 4 awards at 30,000 each, for a total of 120,000. So those are where we're at currently and the past. Oh, sorry. That's the end of cultural investment. We do always ask Arts Commission to participate in the panels. We are conducting those panels. We just finished conducting our panels for fiscal year 22 in July, and then again in September. So the current year that is open is closed, but as we gear up for the new cycle, we will be distributing that in January of 2022. And that will be for, once again, traditional marketing impact and digital collaborative impact. And we will be seeking commissioners to participate on those panels as well. So we encourage you to really look into our cultural investment funding program and participate on any one of our panels. Pauline, do you have anything you would like to add that I maybe forgot? Okay. Next is Mayor's Arts Awards. Do you mind, Director Kamiyama, if I move on to the next slide? Okay. So for Mayor's Awards for Excellence in the Arts, I also help oversee that. This past year in 2021, we held that of this past May 6th. And that was also a digital format, all online, no in person. We had 186 participants on that video chat. We awarded 5 awards? 5 awards. 5 awards, which included Arts Innovator, Culture Connects, Philanthropy, and the Melissa Engstrom Youth Artist Award, which awarded a youth under the age of 18. So we did that all digitally. Mayor Weber was present along with our MC, Carlos Medina, who was wonderful. And we had 2 presentations, virtual presentations. One was graciously provided by Alma and our Chair Castro and her musical group. And then we also had, oh no, we had to cancel one. One we had to cancel, but that was a presentation that we had on there. And then this year we are ramping up for the 30th annual event, and that will happen in spring of 2022. And we will talk later about the planning committee and the nomination committee, but we are getting started to do the 30th annual event, which will be a much larger event we anticipate, as it is the 30th year. And I think that's the end of my portion for right now. I will hand it back to Director Kamiyama.
Thank you, Ms. Tapia. So also, as part of our budget, we do have an item of arts education. A lot of it was funded through the CARES Act, which the city did receive, and some was allocated to the Arts and Culture Department. Through that, we were able to support teaching artists and help train them, especially during COVID, with trauma-related teaching techniques, and also how to teach art online. So everyone had to make that switch. And through the Partners in Education, they were able to provide a series of trainings, and made those trainings available digitally, as well as any handouts. So we're really pleased to be able to support that. Other folks doing work, again, Partners in Education, the Georgia O'Keeffe, we helped do their field trip in a box. Again, because of COVID, field trips were basically in person, was canceled. So they recreated field trip boxes that you can do at home. And that was one way to keep youth engaged. The Santa Fe Children's Museum did some wonderful things with the recycling program. Also STEM and STEAM. I'm really big on STEAM, adding that A of art into science, technology, engineering, and math, which is critical for critical thinking and learning. That art creativity really blends in nicely with science, technology, engineering, and math. And they were also have a huge astronomy program, and we're able to do that through virtual events. So we're really pleased to do that. Both Earth Care and Little Globe continue to work within their communities on the South Side, multi-generational. And Earth Care introduced a music program playing ukuleles, and they did a series of classes as well as performance, and they look to expand that program. Little Globe, as you know, is about capturing stories on film and teaching start to finish, telling your story, how to edit, how to ask questions, how to be a good listener. So again, really capturing those stories that are so rich within our Santa Fe community, throughout our elders down to our youngest folks. And then Site Santa Fe also did their visual thinking strategy. Again, workshops for teaching artists and classrooms that they can take back in, whether it's at home or in a classroom. So we're really pleased with that, and to be able to support that. Next slide, Ms. Tapia. And you did have the opportunity to meet our city historian virtually. So I'll go over this. This is Valerie Rangel, and she continues to do work with research. She's now looking in and working with our GIS team with the city. Again, she wants to do a story map that is looking at Santa Fe as starting from literally from the ground up, the land, the changes of the landscape, naturally changing, human impact from long ago to current time, and then we'll be able to add to it as it goes. She's serving as a 2-year term, and she'll continue to work, and we'll probably bring her back in spring for an update. Next slide. And we also, you met our poet laureate, Daryl Wellington. Daryl has been doing some amazing works within the public schools. So again, working with partners in education, going into the individual classrooms. Usually in non-COVID times, there would be more of assembly type gatherings, but actually the pandemic has allowed for more intimate, personalized per classroom, teaching and writing, and then also reading. So that's a really great thing. And Daryl has done a series of readings, and we'll continue to share those out and invite you to those, whether they're in person or virtual. And Daryl is also serving on a 2-year term for that. Next, Ms. Tapia. One thing that we have been excited to reactivate is our presence within the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. So that's UCCN. We were the first American city to be given a UNESCO designation. And so we wear that with, a lot of pride. And we are working with a consultant, Sabrina Pratt. She's a former Arts and Culture Department director, and she's very familiar with the network. And through her, she helped build out the website. And so we have a microsite on tourism site because it's a much better format, a better wireframe that allows for more flexibility versus our city website framework. And we're looking to reactivate that, have a bigger presence. And so we'll keep you updated on that. Next, please. Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Director Kamiyama. So the Community Gallery was established in 2008. Most of you probably know about it, but if you don't, we feature normally 5 themed exhibits in the gallery every year. It's approximately 30 artists per exhibit, 1 piece per artist, and the artists are asked to respond to the theme by creating a specific piece of work. The intent of the gallery is to promote, exhibit, and sell the work of local artists. It was established during the construction of the convention center, and there was some debate that 80% of the art, I think it was an economic development number that said 80% of the art that's sold in Santa Fe isn't made in Santa Fe. And so this initiative essentially came out of that economic development report. I think it was probably in 2004 or something. So yeah, themes are based on 5 different criteria. We've asked for those themes to have meet 3 of those criteria. Typically, the one is that it's, a professional experience for the artist, and that's kind of most important to us, that these artists get an opportunity to, deal with contracts and deadlines and delivery and pickup, and they have to talk to the public at the openings, and they have to develop an artist statement, and all of these other things kind of help them develop. And there's usually programming that's affiliated with that show. And it's workshops, lectures, hands-on stuff, panel discussions. We've done it all in the gallery. We had a play in there once. And it's always free to the public. And with social media, the attendance for those events were going up dramatically. And so hopefully when COVID, when we get back to normal, that program can continue to thrive and grow even more. And so there's always one show every year for youth art to one nonprofit youth arts organization. It started out with Partners in Education, but now we do it. We have our local youth nonprofits apply and propose a concept, and then the committee will select that concept, and then they're the ones that they kind of just take over the gallery for a month. Next slide, please. Oh, all the programming for the gallery, all the exhibits that we were currently doing have been pushed back until we do reopen. So our first show hopefully will be spring 2022. We do have the Terra Land Arts Conference that's going to be in the convention center. And they were supposed to be in last summer, but they pushed back a year. So we're doing a show for them called Brick by Brick, and it's all about earth and architecture in New Mexico. So we currently have a call out now for artists to submit their portfolios for review. So we will be contacting you guys to review them. For art in public places, established in 1985 to beautify the community. We acquire artworks 3 different ways: purchases through capital improvement bonds. So if there is a building built by the city or on city property for the city that's raised by bond money, 2% of that money goes into an account, a bond fund, for us to buy art for the building. So a lot of the convention center, the fish included in this image, they were all funded through that project. Donations, they're a little more, I think, sticky to deal with. That happens rarely. There was an art piece on loan in front of the downtown public library, that white woven metal piece. It was an art on loan piece. And then eventually the artist was like, it belongs there. And the Arts Commission agreed. So we accepted it as a donation. And then we currently have an art on loan program for local artists and galleries to be able to place their public art on city property. We have 4 pieces right now that we have available, and there's going to be more places that we have. We've got more pads that we're installing so we can expand the program and put more art on loan into the community on a 2-year loan or 3-year, depending. Next slide, please. So again, it's 2% funded from any capital improvement projects is how that program works. We had a 2018 bond for $400,000, and that's kind of what we've been spending because we have to get that those funds expenditured by the end of December. So we identified several opportunities where some of that funding was the bonds were to be used for. So there was the convention center, the Salvador Pettis pool, the Genevieve Chavez Center, the MRC, which is out by the Chavez golf course. It's on the way out there by the baseball fields. There's also a lovely, huge soccer complex out there for people to play soccer. And there's some walking trails. And so that's kind of where that all of those were identified. So we had selection committees for these, and they were composed of representatives from the city departments, the project architects, community arts, and commissioners, and facilitated by the staff. And then we had a couple of state funded art in public places. The same situation happened. So if the state ends up having a project, they have money that they put away, and we have to follow their processes and their procedures and their selection. But it's essentially state money that pays for us to have funded by them for art in public places. And I think we'll have some examples of those. Next slide, please. So for this was the urban trails. It was originally the urban trails, but there were a lot of jurisdictional overlaps that were making it complicated and pushing our timelines back farther than we needed. So we've selected all of these artists to do kind of Sophia is the top one. Hers is going to go at the convention center behind the dog. Hernan at the bottom there is going to be in front of the Southside Library. DKLA is going to be going out at the MRC, and they will be facing the rabbit will be facing the coyote, which is 2 slides down there across the soccer fields. And then the rocket ship that's right above the coyote will be going across from right at the top of the hill. So the baseball players will have a goal to try to hit their ball right over center field and into the rocket ship. And then we have a couple of Alas de Aguas. We've hired them, put them on contract to work on the Youth Arts Mural Project, which had the Salvador Pettis pool, which was all about water is life. So they've been working with the community and local youth to paint the inside walls of the Salvador Pettis pool, and it's going really, really well. And then at the Chavez Center, we had a graffiti abatement project where we used the back wall of the Chavez Center with their approval to let them practice graffiti and do a free wall where the youth could practice. And then they actually got into the skate bowl there to cover up some of the profanity and other things that were being painted in there by the members of the community. So it was kind of a revival project there. And then the other one is the state will be the one on the bottom right. That's 2 projects from the New Mexico Arts, which is the state sister of ourselves. So there's the Southside Teen Center. So Alas de Agua was selected for that one for their engagement with the community. So there, once we get that going, they'll be able to, once the building is built, they'll be putting in artwork. And then the other was those 2 sculptures that you see there for the airport. There was some money for they're redoing phase 1 of the airport. And so there was some money left for that. So the selection committee were able to select 2 sculptures that are pictured there. Next slide, please. So this is the Chavez Center graffiti abatement. You can see the free wall on the right, and the far left is a sign that we've placed out there by the wall to encourage people to be respectful and use the space and explore and be creative. You also see images of the youth in the workshops in the preparation for the pool and the free wall. That it was an engaged community process where they had to be thoughtful and plan and think about the project itself and how it was going to be implemented. The next slide, please. And then this was the skate bowl. And so some of the results of those workshops spilled over. And you see the lovely team leader in the top left. She was incredible and helped us. Jessica just really, between this and the Salvador Pettis pool, she really drove the bus, and it's beautiful. So that skate bowl is done now. So if you want to go behind the Chavez Center and take a look, it's incredible. Next slide, please. And then this is from the Salvador Pettis pool. You kind of see the team there in the middle. Actually, the image on the left is from a photograph from one of the community members who uses the pool. That was a picture of his son fishing. So they included a lot of engagement from the community to make sure that they were telling stories that were pertinent. And essentially it's each panel is almost like it's a tapestry. So each panel represents kind of like a quilt. And so each panel is telling a story of how water is life. It's really awesome. If you can go by there too. Next slide, please. And then of course, the regular conservation and routine maintenance. We have the 7 archangels, and Pauline and I actually have been visiting Jose and monitoring his process. We think we're almost done. There is paint applied to the first one, and we've been getting public funding. And every time we post an update on the advancement of this archangel, we get more money. It's really inspiring. Also, the stonework at the Thomas Massioni Park, we're going to have to get that replaced. I think we're going to do that in the next calendar year. And then at the Torreon, Pauline did a lot of site cleanup through parks, and we partnered with them to kind of improve the site and make the artist happy. He felt like it was being cluttered and there was a lot of trash. And so that was done earlier this year. And then there's at the Lafarge Library, there's a large ceramic quilt that you may not even know about, but when you walk in the doors, it's on the right. And it's this really beautiful, like full ceramic quilt. So you can see there's some repairs that need to be done. It's nothing dramatic. It's actually in really good condition, and it's mostly esoteric paint kind of stuff. So we're hiring someone to come in and do that as well. We're currently working on a contract for that. Next slide, please. And then go ahead, Pauline, or Director Kamiyama.
So this is, you have seen this before, but it's the Keith Haring signature fitness court. We were awarded this. We were one of, I believe, 10 cities to receive this. We were supposed to have a ribbon cutting and a challenge to demonstrate how to use the court last Friday, but I postponed that due to inclement weather. And the city was also in code blue, and code blue was requiring, that public safety team be available in case of emergencies for those, especially those who are unhoused, because the temperatures dropped fairly low. So it just didn't seem like a good use of city time. Plus, we didn't want people to get too cold, and it was really windy. So we have postponed that. We had a full launch event planned for March. So we're moving the ribbon cutting to either March or April of next year. And that event will have the ribbon cutting. We'll have fitness classes, fitness challenges, food trucks, music, giveaways, the whole shebang. And it'll be a great way to reintroduce this into the community. It's currently, I believe, open to the community. We're putting some other additional signage that will direct people to the app, which has a series of different fitness workouts, as well as how to use the 7 modalities there on the court. It's really quite amazing, and it looks beautiful down out there in Swan Park. And Swan Park is also receiving a Frisbee golf court, and that will be in place by Parks, the Parks Department sometime next year. Next slide, Ms. Tapia. So we wanted, actually, I'm going to hand this over to Assistant Director Lambert.
Thank you, Director Kamiyama. So as a result of the continuing Midtown inventorying and organization and planning and development, we've been working really closely with the Director of the Facilities Department who oversees this. And there has been, since we are the kind of experts on all the art assets and inventory on the campus, as we've been kind of maintaining them since the purchase of the campus years and years ago. So we're currently going to move into like a next phase for us where we're going to be working with facilities, and we're hoping to go in and create kind of flush out and get images of items that we know we have, but we don't have images for, and then also kind of double check all the inventory sheets and make sure they match. It not only includes the art assets and inventory, but it also includes kind of all of the educational like equipment. So there's all the photography equipment, there's the printing presses, there's all the other stuff out there that's directly arts related, but more of a technical equipment standpoint. So the staff has gone through already and kind of made several different Excel spreadsheets for each building, like what those assets are. So essentially what we're going to be doing is hiring kind of a coordinator and some staff people to go through and help us kind of identify all the items that are going to remain with the city and make sure that they're accessible to the public and make sure that they're going to be used for educational research purposes. That's essentially our primary focus here with the art assets. But then we did this, you know, there was a comprehensive inventory in 2018. And then in 2022, we're going to kind of go through a 3-phase process where we consolidate the remaining items into one location that's ultimately secure. All of the art assets are currently secure, but we want to get other items like furniture that may be specific and that kind of thing. So we're going to start consolidating all of that, and then we'll go into kind of figuring out a fuller inventory, and then that will help us be able to move on next with the development and how those buildings are going to be used. Next slide, please.
Assistant Director Lambert, I think Alma has her hand raised. I don't know if it's pertaining to these slides.
Chair Castro?
Yeah, I just had a quick question, maybe clarifying question, Mr. Lambert. At this point, you don't have any type of directive in writing on how, what isn't part of the collection, how to commission or decommission something. You're just kind of figuring it out as you go, correct?
Chair Castro, members of the committee, yes, we have a full list. We have the full list of art assets, all of the ceramics and the photography and everything that we inherited when we bought the campus. And we as staff, me particularly, since it's been going on forever. So we've gone through twice and confirmed that list and made sure that all those assets are there and consolidated those assets into several vaults on campus for their security and safety. So that's all done, but there's just a lot of like that there, if someone, for example, hypothetically, if there was going to be a building that was going to be developed and rented out to an organization that didn't need all of the stuff in that building, we need to be able to call out the desks and the office chairs and the monitors and all these other assets and separate them out from cultural assets. So sometimes there is furniture that was specifically designed to be in a building that goes with that building and it stays in place with that building. So we're kind of identifying what assets can be, you know, pulled out that aren't affiliated with that building, and identifying what has to stay with that building, and then identifying what we can just eventually, the city, if they choose to, auction and or throw away, like stuff that's just not worth anything to the city. But we're specifically coming at it from making sure the art assets are safe first, And then we're going to be having all of the other, we're going to be involved in the other components just because we're kind of the experts by default.
Thank you.
And I believe
Commissioner
now
Bernal?
Commissioner Bernal, yes.
Yeah. Director Kamiyama, I want to go back to what started with Ms. Tapia when she went over the matters from the director, which makes reference to update on the culture and investment funding site visits. And I want to bring this up because I got an email from Ms. Tapia maybe 2 weeks ago regarding having site visits, different organizations. I want to follow up on that because if we are going to fund or investigate or visit these organizations in the next few months, we have to schedule those visits. And I want to get an update on that, please.
Chair and Commissioner Bernal, we do have an update on the agenda tonight that will be coming up after our next item. So
Okay.
just one more item after this presentation, and then I will be updating you on those site visits.
Perfect. I just didn't hear anything about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide, please.
Co-Chair Winkle has her hand up.
I apologize. Commissioner Wrinkle.
Just one quick question. So right now, the inventory documentation that you have, Rod, is sort of a separate but distinct group of items that are part of the city collection of art and public art?
Well, there's
Or have they not been
specifically tied-
coordinated?
Yeah, Councilor or Chair Castro, Commissioner Wrinkle. Yes, we have a list of items that were specifically art that were, there are monotypes, there are some paintings, there are ceramics, there are photography, there are, there's just a whole bunch of it, like in just rare, there's some ephemera as well that's kept in, you know. And so what we've done is we just went through and when the city initially purchased the campus, we went through as city staff for the Arts Commission at the time, and we went through and confirmed everything on the inventory lists. And then we have kind of a digital inventory now. It's an Excel spreadsheet. And then what we need to do is get that fully flushed out because sometimes we don't have photographs of everything. We have, you know, the inventory item and we know where it is, but there's not a database that pulls it all together. So we have art systems currently. And so we're using art systems to kind of upload all of that stuff into a cloud so that there's one place that you can search by. The photography collection is already in there. The ceramics collection is already in there. The monotypes are in there, I think, in content, but not images. So we just want to flush it out and nuance it so that everything is easily accessible from one cloud location. That's essentially what we're going to be doing. And then after that, we'll be going through and doing the other stuff like furniture and.
You have another question, Commissioner Wrinkle.
Well, it was just more about, are they technically under is there any distinction between these items and what is part of the City of Santa Fe Arts?
Oh yeah, Chair
Collection.
Castro, Commissioner Wrinkle. It is, they are city owned because the city owns the campus and all of the assets there. However, as a part of our emphasis from the very beginning was to ensure, as the top of this slide says, that all of these items remain within the City of Santa Fe. They be accessible to the public and they be used for educational and research purposes, because those were the original 3 reasons why they were even placed on that campus. So it's within our, as being, I guess, caretakers for the collection, we want to ensure that those values continue as we move forward. There are lots of organizations that are interested in, like, say, you know, we want this photography collection for our photography museum in, you know, La Crosse. And we're like, no, it has to stay in the state. It has to stay in Santa Fe. I'm just saying that as a hypothetical situation. But there are lots of organizations that don't meet these criteria. They also be able to have like the conditions of the humidity and the temperature control and all of the other things that we want for the collection to be cared for, and a staff that knows how to care for them. So we have a lot of criteria. So if these items were to ever be put on loan or donation to another organization, they would have a lot of criteria to meet. But until that happens, we're just making sure that we have an inventory of all these items, that they're secure and that they're safe, and that we have documentation for everything.
So, and Chair Castro, Commissioner Wrinkle, just to clarify and to answer your question, it is not, the Midtown cultural assets are not under the public art portfolio. They are city owned because of when we bought the property, we being the city, but they have not been officially adopted into the collection or the portfolio. And again, as Rod was emphasizing, some of these assets may go to other places, and that's to be determined in the future. So phase one of this is to reaffirm the inventory and then do an assessment.
Commissioner McEwen.
Yes, Chair Castro and Commissioner Lambert. This is just a question of curiosity. In terms of, say, the Greer Garson Center and any types of musical instruments, do they exist?
Chair Castro, Commissioner Mikulak. Yes, actually there, we went through, I think, was it last year, Pauline, or the year before? It all rushes together. We went through staff also, we went through the Greer Garson, and we also went through another building that had an entire section of instruments that were there. So we inventoried all of those as well. We inventoried all of the photography equipment, the enlargers, all of that stuff. So we've gone through and done most of the equipment. It's just herding all of that data into one.
The reason I ask is that particularly with things like a piano, if they've been sitting there for as long as I imagine they've been sitting there, they may indeed be somewhat useless without any type of humidity and, you know, some of the constraints that are really necessary to keep an instrument in usable condition. I'm also available to help with that if you need that. I was a concert pianist for many, many years, and I own a Bechstein.
Thank you. Any other questions? I can't see everybody, so.
I think we could probably move on. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Next slide, please.
Oh,
Rashawn has it.
Rashawn.
Commissioner Ahmad Morris.
Commissioner Morris.
Yeah, thanks. So just so I'm clear, all this stuff is here, but it's not able to be like this is phase one, and then there'll be another phase where you'll invite people who may, or organizations who may qualify to use some of these things. This is not something that people can use, like any of this photo equipment or music equipment or any of the things that are there. Isn't anything that's accessible now to anyone, right? Right now, you're just taking stock of what it is.
Chair Castro, Commissioner Ahmad. Yeah, that's the situation right now. We did, like, for example, we recently completed Celebrate. There was the Beaumont Newhall photography collection. So Beaumont Newhall had donated a collection of photography books, both books about photographers, but also the technical stuff related to photography. And there was this massive collection of books that we ended up processing kind of a donation, a long-term loan to the New Mexico Art Museum. So we just completed the transfer of that part of that collection to the New Mexico Museum of Art, which has been going on for 3 or 4 years now. We've been doing it like in spurts because of COVID, but everything eventually was moved rather recently, actually. So that's currently in a storage facility for an art handler, and they are going to be moving that to the state once they have a space cleared out for them. There are numerous cultural organizations in town, obviously museums and other, that are very interested in kind of all of the components of this. And we've been in communication with them on several meetings to kind of help them figure out, you know, so we can figure out our processes and how we want to do this, and if it's even possible, and what kind of conditions. And we would ideally, we want to make sure that, again, all the criteria that we want for these items to be used by the public and used for educational purposes and remain local be maintained. So, and there's talk that there's items like the instruments, or there's, you know, other things that could be used by, you know, public schools or other organizations that do arts education. So there's an opportunity for some of the more technical items that could be used for those functions to be able to be put on long-term loan or donated to other organizations that serve that purpose. But that's a whole kind of separate talk from the actual art inventory. And if there's an arts organization, let's say, that wants to move into the photography building, into the Marion Center, and they are a photography organization, they want to rent the space, they want to take it over and they want to use that, it's important that we keep that that equipment in there for that possibility, because it kind of sweetens the deal for the contractual obligations and also makes it easier for those organizations to be able to meet their terms of what they want to do. So that's another concern as the development happens, like what technical assets are tied to a building and the actual function of that building. So does that help?
Commissioner
Yes,
Mikula?
thank you.
Yes, Chair Castro and Commissioner Lambert, I have one more question. I know that Beaumont Newhall, I used to sit with him when he was quite old and his partner would go away. He has an extensive collection of his own writings and photographs. Was that also part of this generous gift?
I'm not sure. The whole, what we received was a donation that happened that went to the photography program in the Marion Center years ago when David Scheinbaum was in charge of it. So I think David Scheinbaum kind of shepherded this relationship and the facilitation of the movement of all those items into there for his students to use, because the photography collection that's currently in the Midtown is a result of the collection of photography that all represent different techniques, and they might not be the best version of a photograph, but they're used for educational purposes for photography students. So he felt like having the Beaumont Newhall collection of the library would be a nice dovetail that would go together very good for student education. But before, David Scheinbaum helped kind of organize this movement of it to go to the Museum of Art. So that just
And
finished.
in the interest of time, I'm sorry, Rod, I'm gonna move us along if you don't mind, Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, okay, so this was, Pauline and I started to, once we were moved out from under tourism, we wanted to emphasize and kind of carve out our own niche for arts and cultural tourism, and how tourism is kind of the big umbrella doesn't serve our purposes, and it doesn't identify necessarily the contributions that the arts and culture in Santa Fe make to the overall economy, how much money and how many jobs and how much tourism income comes from just the existence of our vital arts culture here in Santa Fe. So we were kind of brainstorming this whole concept of like, well, how can we take on tourism in our own way? And besides giving our grants to our arts nonprofits and having them prove their marketing to the region and then state and the country, we wanted to kind of do our own little campaign. So we started kind of this little, it's just a little something that Pauline and I kind of threw together, but it's a campaign where we wanted to talk to local celebrities who were local celebrities, not people that were famous necessarily on a national level. Like we're not talking to Shirley MacLaine and we're not talking to Ali McGraw. We're talking to like local celebrities that everybody knows that are famous. And so, and have them kind of discuss what is that je ne sais quoi about Santa Fe? Like, what is it that brings people here? What is it that people love about Santa Fe? Why do people come back? Why do people, you know, move here? What is the draw about Santa Fe? So we conducted 3 different interviews with 3 kind of local famous people that we wanted to kind of emphasize and use in a digital way to kind of promote Santa Fe as an arts and cultural center. And so we have 3 little short videos, but we also had 1 longer video that threw in some statistics to kind of support it. So I think we have that. Do you have that ready?
No, we'll, Assistant Director Lambert, Chair Castro will show that, and after this deck is done, under the different agenda item.
Okay, cool. Next slide then. And we're hoping to continue the famous campaign in the new year.
So part of the CARES dollars, we were very honored to be able to have through workforce development is to offer a series of trainings. So digital marketing, and all these are available on our website. They were all recorded for people to go back and to use. So digital marketing for artists. And we also did visual recording, which we're very excited about. That is, if you see the image on the upper right-hand corner about star people. So it's taking notes, but instead of verbally, you're doing it through imagery. And we're also then hoping to use some of those participants and to hire them to actually do some of the meetings, city meetings and other things. We also had digital literacy, which was how to create digital content using your cell phone, how to shoot it, how to edit it, how to tell your story. And then also in the community gallery, which I know Assistant Director Lambert has talked about, was creating the photo lab, which would invite folks to come and get trained by watching a video, do some hands-on, get certified. Then they're able to come into the gallery, use the photo equipment in a very professional built out area as a photo studio, bring your two-dimensional, small three-dimensional artwork and take those really great photographs that are very needed as you go forward with your portfolio. So we're very excited to be able to do that, and with professional development, continue that through the gallery. Again, once that gets open. Next slide, please, Ms. Tapia. Again, COVID safe practice messaging. We had the public safety announcements, the 3 video series that went out. We also had the CARES artist mini grants for COVID safe practices, and did a number of things. I think you've seen some of this already or may not be familiar with it, but I'm gonna kind of rush through the next couple slides. We get to the next items. Next, please.
Just to correct you for the record, Pauline, there was 4 videos.
Oh, 4 videos. And to really emphasize the federal, what's happening on the federal level. So the American Rescue Plan, the ARPA funds, the city's expecting hopefully to get the first tranche or the first allocation of the funds. We got, as a city, 15 million. So the first will be 7.5 million to come. And the city, which we sent out that survey for you all to participate in, the city conducted a survey citywide to ask folks, what are some of the priorities? So that will be reflected in the first allocation of funds. And we're hoping during the second allocation of funding that will come to the arts and culture communities, which also is inclusive of libraries, to deploy some of those funds and get that back out to the community. The other thing that we're watching, again, as I have stated before in previous meeting, is SARA, the Creative Economy Revitalization Act. Again, that's moved up into Senate. And so we're hoping that will be the reimagined and revisioned WPA. And that will put in over $300 million in nationally. And again, for the state of New Mexico, and then here in northern New Mexico, and specifically here in Santa Fe. So we'll be keeping our eyes out on that. Next slide, please. And chart the culture, history, art, reconciliation, truth. That consultant team with Artful Life, led by Janice Garib and Valerie Martinez. They have conducted their first opening ceremony. And I know some of the commissioners were there, Commissioner Holton, former Commissioner Snocko was there as well. They've also have continued with their project team trainings. They held 2 trainings in the gallery recently, and they had their first cultural history series talk. And if you weren't able to attend that, that is available, again, videotaped and available on their website, which is chartsantafe.com. They are gearing up for starting the public convenings and conversations, starting from January through April. And then their task in August will be to present recommendations based from all the community input through surveys, one-on-one interviews, interactions, cultural history series input, art interventions and activations. So I encourage you to visit their website. And both our department, Arts and Culture, as well as Community Engagement, are the 2 departments with the city shepherding that process and working with the consultant team. They do quarterly updates to the governing body, and their next one will be, I believe, February. So we'll keep you posted on that. And the next slide, please, Ms. Tapia. So that is basically our year, our COVID year plus. And we stand for any questions that you may have.
Okay, if we don't have any questions. Oh,
Chair Castro, Director Kamiyama, and Assistant Director Lambert. I have a question about the Art in Public Places projects. So what time period were these, are these from fiscal year through fiscal year 21, which would have ended in July, June 30th? Or what period of time were these ones, were the Art in Public Places project done?
Chair Castro, Commissioner Villela, these, I believe, had started in fiscal year 21, and they will be completed this fiscal year 22.
Okay, so we got a letter from Matthew Chase Daniel, and he came and trying to think of the Terrence Laskin, I think is the artist's name, who are part of the Art in Public Places Committee. Matthew Chase Daniel wrote about the Art in Public Places Committee being in the dark around the activities of the department for 1.5 years. So how were the decisions made about how, you know, what projects you decided on?
So I'm just gonna step in really quick, and then Director Kamiyama, I'll let you kind of take any points that I missed, but in particular, I was part of a few of those panels. And so we were able, as commissioners and as community members, we brought folks together to be part of the panels that decided what was happening with that funding as part of our role as commissioners to fund.
Chair Castro, Commissioner Villela, and so some of the background, the 2018 GRT bond covers a multitude of city capital improvement projects. So as a director of the Arts Commission at the time, and then Arts and Culture Department, I presented the list, the whittled down list of feasible projects that have public access. That was presented both to the Arts Commission and the Art and Public Places Committee. And then from there, pandemic hit, we did hold panels, artist selection panels, as Chair Castro mentioned and participated in. Art Public Places Committee member Laskin was involved with the urban trails when Commissioner Bernal also was involved with that selection. And then we also had the New Mexico Arts Selection Committee as well to do that. The one project that was already in the works was a creative abatement project. The former director of Recreation and Parks, John Munoz, was already in discussion with YouthWorks to do projects at both sites, Salvador Perez Pool and the Chavez Center. And so we were able to partner again with our sister department to do that. And that's how that project came. So there was no selection for that one, but for the urban trails selection and the New Mexico Art, Public Art and Public Places allocation, there were panels for that, the artist selection panels.
So the panels, but it's not the Art and Public Places Committee anymore? Different panels?
Chair Castro, Commissioner Villela, yes, we formed site-specific artist selection panels, which I'm calling the project coordination committees. So that did include an arts commissioner when we could, an art and public places representative, as well as an architect or a client department representative, because they are the ones who have to be and to maintenance and conservation that comes out of their budget. And then we also, so it was a bit, and again, during this time, we could not meet during the emergency order to have any.
Exactly. So that's not part of my understanding, is that actually they couldn't have been meeting during this.
Chair Castro, yes, that is true. There was only those committees that were legislatively defined.
Necessary.
Required to meet. Yes, thank you. Legislative necessary, we're allowed to meet.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Villela?
I'm thinking about it. Think about what follow-up questions I might have. I'll let the other commissioners follow up.
Okay, Commissioner Bernal, and then we'll come back to you.
Yes,
Commissioner
yes. Chair Castro and Commissioner Vilella, I think using the language kept in the dark is a bit strong. I think we have to understand some people, felt terrible because they weren't participating and they want to be active in it. Those of us who wanted to participate made it and made the effort to call, Director Kamiyama or Rod or whoever, and we were part of the process. Now, we were set aside like everybody. Our lives changed for a year and a half. So I think that that language, if this person wrote or said, kept it in the dark, I think it's way too strong. That's my comment to you, because I was part of that committee of the Art in Public Places as well and participated, in as much as I could, given the circumstances. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Villela, did you have anything to add?
No further questions.
Okay, can we move on then to the site visit update?
Chair Castro, we do have
Madam Chair,
another item.
we skipped one, yeah. Skipped item B.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that the famous update was part of that last slideshow. I apologize.
No apologies, Chair Castro, thank you. This will be the actual presentation of the famous campaign video. Give me one moment and I will pull that up.
So while Ms. Tapia is pulling that up, again, to reemphasize what Assistant Director Lambert said, we did 3 individual short videos, and then we did one long one. We worked with 7505 as our company to do that, and they put together a really nice 3-minute piece that we're going to show you now, and encourage you to visit the website later on, and we'll send that out to you.
Chair Castro and Commissioners, can everyone see my screen? Okay, I will go ahead and begin playing the video.
Can't hear it, Armenia.
No audio.
And you don't have to go too far back in town to see that's something.
Chair Castro, Ms. Tapia, because we're having technical difficulties, why don't we just send a link out? Because of volume, you can't hear. So for the sake of time, we're very happy that this is, and very pleased it will launch officially tomorrow through all the social media platforms. But we will share that link, and for the sake of time, because we can't figure out how to get the volume worked out, we'll send you the link for you to look at your own leisure. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I guess it was a Freudian slip. We're going to move on to the update on the site visit.
Thank you, Chair Castro and Commissioners. I apologize for that audio, but I will be moving on to update on the cultural investment funding site visits. On December 1st, I sent out an email to all commissioners informing them of the upcoming site visits that we would like to schedule. And that is with our current fiscal year 22 awardees for the cultural investment funding programs, both in categories TMI-A, TMI-B, and Digital Collaborative Impact DCI. I did receive some responses back from commissioners. I have not received all responses back. We are encouraging you to at least visit a minimum of 1, but encourage you to visit more than that if possible. I know Commissioner Bernal had wanted an update on when we will be scheduling those. Due to the holidays and trying to set up site visits with the directors of each organization, we are going to postpone those into the new year, starting in January. And we will be sending you an update on when those will be scheduled. We have like I said, we have a list of those that you have volunteered for, and we'll schedule those for you. But if you'd like to ever add to the list or team up with another arts commissioner to visit those, you're welcome to do that as well. We also did put a packet together for you to take with you to the site visit, which will be more so starting as informational and then have some follow-up questions for you to learn more about the organization and then follow back up with the Arts and Culture Department and the other commissioners. Someone's phone's ringing. I think we're good. Okay. Chair Castro, did you have something you wanted to add?
I did have just a quick question. In terms of reporting back, how do we go about that? If we have any concerns, if we have any praise, if we want to like anything will stand out to us, how do we report back to you?
So let me show you the packet that we've put together and show you the questions that you can follow up with the organization on. And then I think our idea is that one of the upcoming commission meetings we'll kind of have maybe an overview or something of that presentation for the entire commission. I haven't worked out exactly how to go about that, just to be, mindful of everyone's times, maybe putting together summaries that we received. But I will, once we get closer and receive back some of these packets, we'll look at how to present them to the commission in its entirety. I will share my screen with you though of the packet. Does that answer your question, Chair Castro?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Let me pull this up. Oh, sorry. I was trying to get a phone number earlier. Okay, so here are the site visit packet. This is an example. You will have one made specifically focused towards your organization and which site you are visiting during that day or that time. And those will be compiled and sent to you via our current grants consultant, Zoe Lesser. So when the times are set up, you will receive an individualized packet for that organization. So this one is for, as an example, it's for Center for Contemporary Arts. And basically what it is a front page, more about the marketing program. So which category and more about that and how the eligibility for those. And then just more about our Culture Connects, our vision for Culture Connects. And then you'll see in each packet applicant information for that specific organization, their project and artistic excellence narrative, which discusses the current project that they received funding for and their plan for that and how to implement and all of that information that they provided. You'll also see, so that first one is kind of a long document at first, just goes really into descriptions on their current programming that they received. And oh, is it my internet or is my, what's happening? Where did it go? I'm sorry. Let me.
Chair Castro, I think it's just your internet.
I think it is my internet.
So the other things that you would see with part of their application was their budget and their budget narrative of how they would allocate the funds for marketing and promotion. And then we also include a grid of how they would use their digital marketing. Is it earned media, bought media, and other things? So that will be in your packet and we will definitely send that out to you. But any questions, please filter that back to Ms. Tapia.
So sorry, I'm having internet issues.
Yeah. Chair Castro and the commissioners, I have a question or a concern regarding these site visits. If only one of us attends or visits these organizations, I think it can become very subjective because I may favor or like, although, I'm analyzing, in the visit, I'm seeing what they have, what they do and so forth. So I think if the two of us were to visit together, that's my suggestion. It would be, at least we'd be able to have dialogue between us and make some consensus. We may both agree, but we may not. Because after all, these folks are asking for money and they're asking for funding. And we are the ones, blessing them, or helping them out or not. And I think it will be in our best interest to have two sets of criteria or two voices when we visit these places. It's just a thought for consideration, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mikulak?
Yes, Chair Castro and Ms. Tapia. I wanted to make sure you got both of my emails. In one, you did.
Correct, Commissioner McGough. I did receive your selection for the site visits, as well as your selection for the committees that we'll be discussing later tonight.
And in terms of Commissioner Bernal,
Yes,
I think that's a very good idea, but I think we need to always remember that everything that we are looking at, we bring our own subjectivity to it
I know.
and our own biases. So I think his idea of a team of two provides at least some dialogue to look at our own issues, our own subjectivity, our own, biases that we're bringing to that. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you, Commissioner Brunel, and thank you, Ms.
And I can definitely send out a list of who will be visiting what but I do need everyone's participation and response back. So if you have not, that email was sent out December 1st. I can send it out again for your reference. And that way we can get those scheduled in the new year. And if you'd like to team up, that's great. If not, that is totally up to each and every one of you. But I will get those lists compiled and we'll get those scheduled.
I have one more question, just for my clarification, and I'm sorry, Ms. Tapia. The packets that we will be receiving are for current requests or for past requests?
They are for currently awarded and funded organizations in this year. Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in theory, we're kind of just making sure that they're reaching benchmarks that they put for themselves, and that's in our packet.
Correct. And that reaching benchmark success, learning more about their organization and their current project or program that we funded. And then as well as more about Culture Connects and how the Arts Commission and Arts and Culture Department can further support them as an organization.
So just for
Awesome. Thank you so
clarification, Ms. Tapia and Chair Castro, this is to evaluate their current progress on what they have already received as funding and the work that they're doing.
Yes, Chair Castro and Commissioner McGough, that is correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Lambert.
Yes, Chair Castro and commission members. I think it's important to note here that this isn't necessarily like a performative evaluation of, hash marks and pluses and minuses with scores. We wanted to make sure this started pre-COVID with our last grants person, Jackie Cambord, and there was this need that we felt for the commissioners. Like there were some times that like you can't attend every event that we have funded, and you can't see every organization that we funded. So we wanted you to be able to engage with these organizations and get to know them from the inside, as opposed to just reading a couple of pages about them in an application annually and then funding them, so that you not only understand the organization themselves, but you kind of understand the bigger network of what arts and culture are in Santa Fe. So this is as much about y'all getting to know each other during those interviews and getting to know these organizations in these interviews. So don't think of it as like, perform, but you're going to go in and just kind of, and we've got some startup questions to kind of get the conversation going, so that once you end up getting engaged, you can start asking other questions, follow-ups on your own. But we gave you some, starters. So that'll be in there too.
Thank you so much. And I don't want to take too much time, but I will just give an example that last year, Commissioner Bernal and I went to go see Site Santa Fe, and I wasn't even aware that Site Santa Fe was open at the time. So, shared it on social media, got a little bit more interest, invited some folks to come. It was an amazing show. And had I not been invited to the site visit, I might not have seen it. So it's a really good opportunity. If we are all done with that update, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I will move on. Thank you. To matters from the public, I think Matthew Chase Daniel.
Madam Chair, you still have the item D.
I apologize. Yes, sorry. Director Kamiyama, would you please give us an update on our retreat planning? Very excited.
Great. So Chair Castro, commission members. So the retreat planning I want to say, has not technically started because we're still, we'll get input from you. We did provide a schedule of when the other 2 vacancies would be filled, and we're hoping that will be February, March, because again, it has to go through applications. The survey answers are due on January 13th. Staff does an audit to confirm that the applicants all live within Santa Fe County. We vet those. We will then have the selection committee look at them and then do interviews and then make recommendations that go to the mayor. Then the mayor and the city manager take time. So our goal is to have the recommendations confirmed by governing body, either at the late February meeting or in the March meeting, which means then they would be able to be on board in March or April. So the question really, I think in January, will be an action item of when to hold this retreat. Do we do it before the vacancies are filled, or are we willing to wait? And so what I do know is that this will be publicly noticed because we are all meeting together. And we will come up with an agenda. So as director, I will work with both Chair Castro and Co-Chair Wrinkle or Vice Chair Wrinkle about that and figure out what format that looks like, look for a location and some activities I think we have in mind so that there will be some hands-on type of social practice and of community-centered work, as well as strategic planning and visioning of what we're all interested in what you're doing and what you would like to see happen. So I will bring that back for discussion and action, I think, at the January meeting.
And Director, do you feel it's appropriate for us to email Ms. Tapia or yourself with any ideas that we might have? I know we want to wait till those vacancies are filled, but yeah.
Chair Castro, yes, I think that would be great. If you have any suggestions or ideas, please do so. Email to Ms. Tapia.
Commissioner Villela.
Chair Castro, my question about it is, I mean, that's a long time from now. The 2 new arts commissioners, if we don't do any strategic planning previous to that, my thought is that, yeah, I'm just questioning the timing of that.
Does everybody else kind of agree that we can do some of the strategic planning ahead of time and be prepared for April once folks are onboarded at least?
Chair Castro, if I may, and Commissioner Villela, and I think it depends on when the strategic planning is. Are we looking, and I say we, is the Arts Commission, as Arts Commissioners, are you interested in the strategic planning to start July 1st in the new fiscal year, or to continue towards the latter part of the end of this fiscal year, which would be April, May, June? So that's really kind of one of the discussion factors.
If, sorry, there's a hand raised. Yes, Commissioner Wrinkle.
I'm just curious to know if there's been a strategic plan in the past for the Arts Commission.
Chair Castro, Vice Chair Wrinkle, I believe there was a 5-year plan that was done. I have to look back at that. I'm sure it's well overdue to be revisited. So I can get more information on that. I'm not sure if Assistant Director Lambert has more information.
Yeah, there was a 5-year plan that was done, and then yes, Chair Castro and Commissioner Wrinkle, and there was also Culture Connects was essentially born out of that concept of creating a long-range plan. So Culture Connects itself, that entire process was a way for us to gain community engagement so that we could come up with a document that would give us a roadmap moving forward. So Culture Connects represents in itself, even though it may seem not as specific and bullet pointed as some plans would be, to kind of serve as a guideline for how the Arts and Culture or Arts Commission at the time was going to operate. So essentially, the action items that would happen that would come out of this would be kind of what y'all's vision is for this next year and how the budget can be executed, and maybe what that $10,000 project kind of, you know, would look like and what y'all would like to do there. So
Thank you, Assistant Director Lambert. What year was the Culture Connects document completed? 16?
Maybe 16,
Chair
17.
Chair Castro, Vice Chair Winkle, yes, 2016, it was adopted by governing body.
Yes, and it
And
speaks
we'll
to,
provide the link again so that you can review both the executive summary and then the full document. The full report, actually towards the end, the appendix is amazing because it has actual comments. So not only are there recommendations, but the appendix has a bunch of community comments, which is wonderful.
and it has a implementation plan in the back that talks about years 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, and then recommendations for year 5 and beyond. So we might, you know, as part of that considerations, look and see where we are on that timeline if it's relevant.
Thank you, Commissioner Winkle. So I guess Commissioner Viella, to answer your question, we're not waiting. We kind of have a little bit to guide us, which is nice. Commissioner Holton. Sorry, I think
Commissioner
you're
Holton,
muted.
you're muted.
There. Chair Castro and other commissioners and Director Kamamaya. Strategic planning, in my experience, is a fairly involved process and generally involves a facilitator who's experienced in that. And I don't think we can do an effective strategic plan by having a one-day retreat. So maybe it's some kind of a subcommittee of the commission to talk about this and to put together some kind of an agenda and plan. I think might be useful to have it be, you know, more productive and come out with something that is really a useful work product. So that's my suggestion. And question, is there anybody on the commission who has experience with strategic planning?
I actually do, yeah. So as an organizer with Somos Un Pueblo Unido for many years, strategic planning is one of the things I've been trained on a little bit, mostly through AmeriCorps, but that's one of the things that I think I can bring to the table. So hopefully this will be the beginning of a few meetings. I think you're right. It would be difficult in one meeting to do all that work, but let's see where we can start.
Okay, I think getting started now with some discussions about this would be useful.
Well, I don't think we can put it on the agenda for this meeting, but we could definitely do it for the next one.
Yes.
Commissioner Mikulak?
I think that Rod was before me. No? Okay. I wondered if we could, I like the subcommittee idea, although then we might have a subcommittee of a subcommittee of a subcommittee, so we need to be careful. But could we have two? I don't know what the limitations are in terms of retreats. One prior to our two new commissioners coming on board and one after. And I did have one question for Commissioner Viella. That was, I wondered if the person who sent you information about feeling that they were left in the dark, what they meant by that. And just so we can get there under in a perspective from their point of view, what did they mean by that?
We might actually get a chance to hear from them in just a second if we get there.
Okay.
Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, Chair Castro and members of the committee. Culture Connects was developed from a strategic planning perspective. Just to put it in context, we hired Dr. Esteban Rael Galvez. We paid him $75,000, and he did a series of community engagement projects all over Santa Fe and developed Culture Connects from that process. So there was a paid facilitator that developed all of the engagement, and this document was the result of that. So just to kind of contextualize Culture Connects and its purpose in our long range plan.
Okay, any other comments, concerns around the retreat? I think what I'm hearing, if that's correct, is that, sorry, we might have a lot to kind of deal with at one retreat. So we might want to have a few meetings, and then we are going to possibly investigate before next meeting if we can have 2 retreats. We can start the work before we onboard these 2 folks. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so, oh, go ahead, Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, Chair Castro, members of the committee, maybe it's there's a retreat and then there's an orientation. Like that could be maybe the differentiation between the two. I think an orientation is very important for everyone. And I think often that's couched into a retreat, but maybe if we distinguish them that way, that may be helpful.
Great idea. So I guess we can talk about this afterward, but if Ms. Tapia, you can put that on the agenda for the next meeting, that'd be great.
Chair, yes, I will put that onto the next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we were speaking a little bit earlier, I think it would be great if Mr. Matthew Chase Daniels had anything to say about his letter or anything else to comment about specifically art in public places.
Chair, if you don't mind that I ask Mr. Matthew Chase Daniel to raise his hand if he is available to speak, and then you'll just need to open matters from the public.
Perfect. And again, no pressure, but I do feel that some commissioners do have maybe some questions if he was willing to take those.
Madam Chair, you'll need to say that we're on that item, please. That
Oh,
we're on
I
item 7,
apologize.
matters
So we're
from the
going to
public.
go ahead and move on to matters from the public.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Matthew Chase Daniel, I'm going to allow you to speak. If you'll just please state your name for the record. And I am promoting you now.
There we go. Hello. I just step out for some of the meetings, so I may not be up to date on what you're asking me about specifically. My concerns about AIPP in general are that we were not able to meet because of COVID restrictions for the city as a subcommittee. So we haven't met since before March of 2020. And now it seems that AIPP is being proposed to be eliminated. And so my concern is that due consideration is taken by this committee before it's choosing to eliminate the role of AIPP. And if AIPP is eliminated, that good procedures are put in place for evaluating public art by this committee and by professionals in the field who have qualifications to evaluate art in public places.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And I think in particular, there was a letter that was sent to us regarding some of the transitions. And in particular, you mentioned that you guys felt that you were in the dark. And I think there was some questions about that comment of you guys feeling that there wasn't a lot of communication.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
when we didn't meet, many of the members asked that we be informed, if we weren't able to meet, to at least be informed about what was going on as a group. And there are certain restrictions about a rolling quorum with emails and things like that. But to date, our committee has only really received a letter saying that things have changed. There's a new ordinance. AIPP is no longer a part of things, which what I understand from the Arts Commission hasn't actually passed yet. AIPP's role as it has existed over the past many years has been erased from the city website. Last I looked, maybe it's been put back, I'm not sure. So we've been left in the dark about projects, and I'm able to see what's going on with projects only by attending this meeting as a member of the public. So that's the degree, I would say, to which we're in the dark.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Commissioner Mikulak, did that answer your question?
Chair Castro and Matthew, I hope that's okay to call you Matthew. It does in part answer my question, but I'd like to hear a response. I'm new to the commission, and I would like to hear a response from those who've made those decisions in response to you and your statement of being left in the dark, because I have no process here to evaluate that. But I did ask to hear from you because I think it's very easy to misinterpret what people are saying, and it's more important to understand what your perspective and experience was. So I'd like to hear a response from the commission, those who were participating in those decisions.
Thank you so much. And I'm willing to give that response in just a second. I just want to, Commissioner Villela, did you have something to say? Okay, and obviously I'm not.
You're muted, Commissioner.
Sorry. Chair Castro, I'll wait until the Arts and Culture Department has a chance to respond to why these changes are being made.
So was that question specifically for the Arts and Culture Department or everyone who was involved?
Specifically for Director Kamiyama, I think, and for Assistant Director Lambert. Is that
correct, Commissioner Mikulak?
I was interested to hear from anyone who was part of the decisions to remove the website, to decide that AIPP was not part of, the arts in Santa Fe, et cetera, et cetera.
So my understanding is, as of now, correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, but nothing has changed in terms of directives, in terms of the commission being disbanded. The only thing that's different right now is that there is some COVID restrictions, so they are not meeting. Is that what we all understand at this point?
Yeah, nothing official has been changed. The only thing that's changed is what actually happens. So the Arts Commission is on ahead with Art in Public Places projects without the input of the Art in Public Places Committee. So the whole thing hasn't been put on hold, just the AIPP committee role in the process.
Correct. And my understanding, if that's correct, Ms. Tapia, is based on COVID restrictions.
Chair, that is correct. Those that were deemed necessary to meet have been allowed to meet. Just to clarify, on April 29th of 2021, Art in Public Places did host a meeting. So that meeting was held, and that was with the one-time approval of our city manager, Jarrell LePan Hill. So we did have to seek approval for that meeting to be held, and that meeting was held on April 29th. And we did, according to the agenda, update Art in Public Places members of the current process and progress of the public art program, and resolution, as well as the Urban Trails Teen Center Airport and the SFCCC mural. So those were the two items on that agenda.
And I do see you, Commissioner Matthew. Like, I just have one more clarifying question. We did mention that there was members of the AIPP committee as part of those selection committees. When were they invited to be part of those committees?
Chair Castro, commissioners, I would need to go back and look at the dates of the panels. But those were definitely all done by Zoom, so it was during the pandemic. But these discussions.
And I know that we said it was September and July that those panels convened. So would you assume it was a few months before that? Was it via email? Was Mr. Matthew Chase Daniels invited to be part of those panels?
Chair Castro, commissioners, we would have set those panels probably at least a month or 2 months in advance because of scheduling. There would be a series of 2 panels, one to review all applications to create a short list of finalists, and then to actually meet the finalists with proposals. Art and Public Places Committee member Matthew Chase Daniels was not invited to attend one of those urban trails. We did invite Art and Public Places Committee member Laskin, as well as Commissioner Bernal, who's not only an arts commissioner, but was on the committee. We had also extended the invitation out to, I believe, Commissioner Hanley at the time, who was chair, but due to her scheduling, it was very challenging for her to attend even by Zoom weekday meetings because of her role as the head curator at the Wheelwright.
Commissioner Mikula.
Mr. Chase Daniels, you're muted. He was trying to say something, but he's muted.
Oh, I apologize.
That sounds all correct. I do believe my internet connection went out for a minute. I'm sorry, it's very bad timing, but it does sound like there was that meeting in April where some of that was discussed. The ones, the Urban Trails project did have representation from Taryn Laskin. That sounds correct to my recollection. So I think the staff is correct in that it's not that nothing has gone on with AIPP since then. It's that not everything that should, in my estimation, have gone through AIPP has, including the Salvador Perez pool, the Genevieve Chavez Center, the city, there was a project for the Convention Center mural, which actually never happened, but that originally went forward with a call for entries without going through the committee. So there were some things that were, I would say, neglected, and other things that were where AIPP was involved or members of AIPP. And I also want to be clear that for the selection committees, as they've happened in the past, it is members of AIPP and not the entire AIPP committee who are on those things. So that Taryn Laskin, say, was on the Urban Trails Committee is appropriate. It's not that that should have necessarily, not in any way, been chosen solely by the entire AIPP committee. And I think Commissioner Bernal might be able to speak a bit on the history of the committee because he's been on there for quite some time. My larger concern, I guess, just to reiterate, is if the committee is to be disbanded, that's a choice of this commission. And if that is the choice that's made, to ensure that the role that AIPP has played is correctly replaced. And that, in my understanding, should be a decision of this body and not of staff solely.
Ms. Martin, you had something to say?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to talk to you again about the process of how the city committees work when there are public comments, okay? This item is not on the agenda. Therefore, it really should not be discussed by this commission at this time. The way the public comment works is Mr. Chase Daniel is able to discuss his points of view and what he is asking the commission to do. There are no responses from the commissioners. They take that into.
We lost you. You're muted.
The commissioners do not respond to the public comment, or nor does staff. His ideas and are then put on an agenda the next time to be discussed in an open meeting. So this is really inappropriate to have any kind of discussion or questions. It's Mr. Chase Daniel talking to you about his viewpoint, and that ends the public comment. And this can't be discussed today because it's not on the agenda.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your help, Ms. Martin. But I would like to ask Ms. Tapia if we could, I believe it already is on the agenda for the January meeting to discuss this item. But if it's not, I would like to add it. And I just want to assure all the members of the public and everybody that this has been a discussion item as of yet and has not been an action item and will not be until we have something more solid. Commissioner Mikulak, did you have
Thank you,
something?
Madam Chair. And again, no further comments by the commissioner are not
By
appropriate.
the commissioners. Okay. So we're going to move on unless Mr. Chase Daniels, would you like to add anything? Awesome. So hopefully we'll be seeing you next month at the next meeting because we will have a discussion item. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move on to our discussion items for this meeting. So we have an update on the Arts Commission ordinance amendments from Assistant Attorney Salazar.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. I'm going to give you a brief update. So what has happened is the City Attorney's Office has reviewed the document as we discussed. We actually have some research questions that we're fielding out to our bond counsel. So there's a section called Funding for Art in Public Places that references bond sections. And so our bond counsel reviewed that section and made some changes to our revisions. And so we are meeting with him to discuss what his changes were, because there's a time frame change about when funds can be used to maintain art pieces. And so we want to clarify that so that I can fully inform you as to what that means. Secondarily, because of the timing of everything, right now the city attorney is out. She will not be back until the 22nd, and then I will be out through the end of the year. So we would request that, we know we want to give you a month to review it in the form of a Word document. That's what we will be sending you. So we are estimating that that Word document will be given to you in January to start meeting in your groups and moving forward with it. January, people probably won't have as many plans, so there won't be as many vacation dates, and then we can move forward either in February or March for it to be on the agenda as an actual action item. That's my update, unless you have any questions for me.
I don't have any. I just want to thank you guys, and I know we got a little muddled, but I think a lot of our questions have really, you've done a great job answering them and easing our concerns about this moving too quickly. So I want to thank staff and you, Assistant Attorney, for really listening to our concerns. Thank you. Commissioner Bennett.
Yes, Director Kamiyama and the rest of the staff, I want to commend you and thank you for the extensive report you put together. Very comprehensive, very detailed. I wish we had more time because I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to, keep on pushing this meeting out. But perhaps we can, if we had the opportunity to have, special meetings between ourselves, but we're not allowed to do that either. But I think it's been a very positive meeting today, especially, the information the slides that you put up, it was really detailed and explained, many of the projects you guys are working on. So thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Commissioner Winkle.
Just a quick question for Assistant City Attorney Salazar. What you said it would become in a Word, this document will come in a Word document, or will it be redlined or a fresh document?
Chair Castro, Commissioner Winkle. So the document will come as a Word document. What we'll do is we'll memorialize it. We'll have my version. I guess that's the first version. It's a redlined document, so it'll be in legislative format. Underlined sections, there'll be a key code on the side, but underlined sections are additions, strike through sections are removal, and you will be able to go through it with track changes if you want and make changes to it. And then we will come back to our document and make those changes after you have an action meeting. Unfortunately, it's difficult to have multiple documents out there. So we are going to send you the Word document, but we'll have basically the master copy in our office. And then after our meeting, once action items and discussion has been taken, we will make those changes to move it forward. But you will have documents to work on in your small groups.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Holton.
Chairman Castro, Director Kamamaya, I want to second what Commissioner
Hold on,
Bernal
sorry,
said.
can I just correct that really quick? It's Kamiyama, yeah?
Kamiyama. Okay, excuse me. Thank you. I wanted to second what Commissioner Bernal said about the report. It was very informative and very impressive. I would ask if it would be possible for that slide deck to be sent to the commissioners so we could review it in more detail. I think there were some questions that I had. I was taking notes, but it's a lot to digest in the short amount of time that we had. But again, I thought it was very impressive scope of work that's been accomplished.
Ms. Tapia.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Holton and other commissioners, these documents that were presented tonight will be compiled into a packet and emailed to you for further review.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in the interest of time, I was wondering, are we on some sort of time restraint with this $10,000 allocation, or can we move it to the January meeting?
Madam Chair, are you moving to item B? You'll need to say that to discuss the
I apologize.
$10,000.
We are going to be moving on to the next item on the agenda. If nobody has any concerns, questions, comments on just the update on the ordinance. No? Okay. We're going to move on to item B. Item B under that section, and it's the discussion of the Arts Commission special project. I am suggesting we move this to the next meeting. Is there any reason that we can't not do that?
Chair Castro, fellow commissioners, the allocation only has a deadline of the fiscal year to be encumbered by prior to June 30th, because we have to allow paperwork. So I would say by May. It doesn't necessarily have to be spent, but we can allocate it and then roll that purchase order over, or purchase orders if you want to do multiple. You were sent a list per Commissioner Holton's request last time, a list of project ideas. That's not to say that you won't, as a commission, come up with your own, but we can use that for discussion and some action if possible. And again, it could be a series of 2,000 here. Let's wait till February, March and figure it out later. But we can definitely push discussion and action into January's meeting.
Is there any objections, any commissioners that would like to discuss this further or want to have the full discussion at this time? Okay, then I'm going to go on and move to our action item, number 9. If that's all right with everyone. We have item A, which is the approval of the Arts Commission vacancy nominations committee selection. I'm a little confused about that, Director.
Chair Castro, that item is confirming the committees. So I'm going to ask Ms. Tapia if you want to I don't know if we're going to do a screen share or what for the 3 committees.
Chair
But
and
based
Director.
on everyone's input, people have been assigned and it's what has fallen category
Ms.
wise.
Martin, sorry, point of clarification. Do you think that we would be able to talk about all of the committee selections under one discussion item or one action item as opposed to individual action items?
No, because you can't change the agenda.
once it's been
Well,
approved?
I guess you could talk about it, and on the item, specific item, I could put previously discussed, but you're supposed to follow the agenda the way that it is, because that's what's been published.
Okay, no worries. What I would suggest, Ms. Tapia, is we'll continue to have your screen share, and then I will continue through the agenda as we move through your screen. Is that okay?
Yes, Chair, that is good by me. I will begin sharing my screen.
Awesome.
And we will start with action item A, which is the nominating committee selections. And so that is, I apologize that this is out of order, but that is where we are starting right here. Let me zoom in a little bit so that that is more legible.
Ms. Tapia?
Yes.
Is this document in the packet?
It is not in the packet. It was not finalized until today when I received Commissioner Mikulak's selection, but this will be added to the final packet after tonight and sent to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Castro, Ms. Tapia, point of order. The action item A is actually for the selection of the vacancies for arts commissioners.
Correct.
So you need to scroll down to the next section.
Item A is the nominating committee.
I am so sorry. I listed that wrong, Chair and other members. It is supposed to be the awards nomination selection, not the approval of Arts Commission vacancies, as that is item C. That is my error, and I apologize for that.
Ms. Tapia, we'll have to go in the order of the agenda because the agenda wasn't amended, so.
So just to clarify, Ms. Martin, does that mean that we cannot make a selection for this awards nomination and selection since I mistyped that?
No, we will under part B, correct? Under item B.
That is the planning committee. That is
Ms. Tapia and Madam Chair. Item A is the Arts Commission vacancies nominating committee selection.
Correct.
That's what you have to discuss. B is the mayor's awards. C is the Santa Fe Arts Commission selection committee.
Correct. So Elizabeth, that's where I'm asking. Does that mean that we have to strike item A and not make a selection for the awards nomination selection? Because item A and item C are a duplicate.
Exactly.
Well, you can make you're trying to make sure you can do the Mayor's Arts Award Planning Committee? You can do that under B.
No. So item A and item C are duplicate. I mistyped, and that makes those two items a duplicate.
I understand. You can do the Arts Commission vacancies under A, or you can I can just state that's a duplicate, and you can do it under C. Either way.
If you're okay with that, if we could state that as a duplicate and go ahead and move on with item A as the actual Mayor's Arts Award nomination and selection.
Well, it'll be item B. A will be duplicate.
Okay.
We'll just add it, Ms. Tapia, to B, and we'll have two action items under B.
All right, perfect. I'm sorry.
I've got it.
Okay.
So at this time, you're on item B.
Okay, I will be moving on to item B. I apologize for that. I don't know what I did there. So this is the 30th Annual Mayor's Arts Awards Planning Committee. And Chair, do you want me to go over this, or would you like to mention this, or Director Kamiyama? It's totally up to your decision. I can present if you'd like. Oh, I'm sorry. I am the presenter for this one.
Yeah.
All right, now everybody's getting tired.
I'm just all baffled. I think I am tired. Okay. So this is the 30th Annual Mayor's Arts Awards Planning and Implementation. This subcommittee is designed to work hand in hand with the contracted planner that we will bring on contract to plan the actual event that will be hosted in spring of 2022. And this is the Mayor's Arts Awards. This is the 30th year, so it's the largest year that we've had thus far. And so far, these are the commissioners that have either volunteered or have been added to there. For the first commissioner, we have Ann Wrinkle as the committee chair. These are all recommendations to be approved by the commission and the chair and Chair Castro later. Number 2 is Alma Castro. Number 3 is Paul Holton. And number 4 is Rashawn Ahmad Morris. Any discussion on this selection committee? Or this planning and implementation committee?
And I will reiterate, yes, Commissioner Wrinkle.
Oh, you recognizing me?
Yes, ma'am.
He recognized you.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to be encouraged. We have a really good independent outside contractor to perform the details of the event. Hopefully we've got good people that we can rely on. And a budget for that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, and I think one thing that we discussed earlier when making the agenda is that because it is the 30th annual, it's going to be kind of a big event. So we will need all hands on deck eventually. So this is just the planning committee initially, but anything that we can help out, Chair Wrinkle is going to need all the help and support that we can give her. So please step up.
Madam Chair, I just want to make the statement that you are not able to have a quorum in any of these meetings. So just make sure you don't have more than 5, okay?
More than 5.
Members of
yes.
the commission.
Thank you so much, Ms. Martin. And that goes to a point that I wanted to mention earlier for Commissioner Bernal. We can actually meet as long as we don't have quorum in smaller
Correct.
groups.
Correct.
If there are no objections, Chair Castro, if you would like to, or someone would like to move to approve this 30th Annual Mayor's Arts Awards Planning and Implementation Committee.
I would like to move. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. And then under this item B.
Armenia, we need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Commissioner Castro?
Yes.
Commissioner Wrinkle?
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Mikulak?
Yes.
Commissioner Holton?
Yes.
Commissioner Villela?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernal?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So we will under B also be talking about the selection committees for the Mayor's Arts Award.
And so here, speaking to Ms. Martin's point, we do have 5, which would initiate a quorum.
Right.
So this one will need to be discussed.
Yeah.
But this is the Mayor's Arts Awards Nomination and Selection Committee. This is a review of the nominations. In previous year, we received 75 nominations. We anticipate anywhere from 75 to 100 nominations to be received for the 30th year. And this committee would review those nominations and recommendations and approve to recommend to the mayor for final selection. And on under those commissioners, we have Jorge Bernal as the committee chair, Paul Holton, Marcia Mikulak, Rashawn Ahmad Morris, and Jennifer Villela.
Ms. Tapia, or Madam Chair, I'm sorry. Ms.
Yes,
Tapia, if you can agree as a group who could be removed, then you can go ahead and vote on this tonight. It just can't be 5.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Chair Castro, I will open up the floor to you.
Just a question, I guess a point of clarification. We could in theory meet as long as it was an open meeting. Is that correct?
Well,
Correct.
it would cause some issues in that these meetings would have to be noticed. And there would have to be, someone would have to be there to take minutes.
Okay, thank you so much.
So it's an extra expense to the department, just to let you know.
Of course, yes, thank you. We probably should discuss, is there anyone on this list that would like to step down or would like to be on a different committee? Commissioner Moore?
Yeah, I can step down. I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
And
We're
with
very generous
that
of you, thank you.
change, I will remove Commissioner Maud Morris from that list. And that now gives you 4 commissioners. Jorge Bernal still is the committee chair, Paul Holton, Masia Mikulak, and Jennifer Villa.
And I would like to make a motion that we approve this committee for the selection of the Mayor's Arts Board.
Okay, and Madam Chair Castro, I'm going to put this committee as amended as your motion, if that's okay with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay. Commissioner Castro?
Yes.
Commissioner Rinkle,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Mikulak,
Yes.
Commissioner Holton,
yes.
Commissioner Villela,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernal.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would like to move on to the next item C, the approval of the Arts Commission Selection Committee.
Thank you, Chair Castro. I will move down to the Arts Commissioner Recruitment and Selection. This is as you know, the open call is out and available for our 2 Arts Commission vacancies. This subcommittee would be reviewing those and making recommendations to the mayor for final selection. Currently, we have another list of 5, so it will need to be discussed. But as it stands currently, we have Alma Castro as the committee chair, Jorge Bernal, Masia Mikulak, Jennifer Villela, and Ann Rinkle. And Chair, I will open up the floor back to you.
Thank you so much. I would just like to say briefly, I will open this up for anybody to step down from the committee, but seeing that Commissioner Bennett is been on the longest, I would suggest he stay on this committee, but that is up to him.
I would
Commissioner Mikulak?
I'll step down.
I will move to amend that.
Okay.
Chair, with that, I will remove Commissioner Mikulak from the list.
We need a second. We need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
And that now gives you, as it stands, according to the removal of Commissioner Mikulak, Alma Castro still as the committee chair, Jorge Bernal, Jennifer Villela, and Ann Rinkle.
And we need to vote. Okay, real quick. Commissioner Castro? Commissioner Rinkle?
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Mikulak?
Yes.
Commissioner Hilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Villela?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernal?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. I'd like to move on to D, the review the role and approval of the Arts Commission Communications Liaison.
Thank you, Chair. I will go ahead and also share my screen for that liaison role and responsibilities. Let me pull that up. Okay, so this role was discussed at our previous meeting and is now an action item. We are looking to have a central point of contact for fellow commissioners that will work directly with me as the city staff liaison to ensure accurate and timely responses by arts commissioners. There is a list of responsibilities that all of you received this document last Thursday to review to see if anybody would like to recommend. Sorry, I have a cat trying to climb up my back. If you would like to volunteer or nominate anyone to join this as the communications liaison for the Arts Commission. And this is open-ended, so we can always add to the roles or responsibilities, but this is how it stands as of now. Can I open it back to Chair Castro for any nominations or volunteers?
Yeah, so I thought that this is a really great document. Thank you for laying out all the things that I think in our last meeting, we weren't sure what those requirements were, and it was hard to kind of step up. It seems to me that it's a really good opportunity to learn more about the Arts and Culture Department and ask any questions and concerns that we might have. That being said, it is kind of a big responsibility, and it is a little bit, I would say, language heavy. So if anybody feels a little bit uneasy with the process, it might be difficult. Is anybody interested or feels they have the skill set for this particular role? Commissioner Bennett?
No, I was going to suggest we ask Rod to do the work. Kindly ask him if you want to help out. So the question is, does it have to be one of the commissioners?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Holton, this was a conversation that we had early on about the commissioner specifically helping staff. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, we were concerned that the staff was overloaded and that there were breakdowns in communication that were, happening in a number of different areas.
Do you feel that this role might help in relieving some of those miscommunications?
Yes, I do.
Madam Chair, Director Kamayama had her hand up.
Oh, I apologize, Director.
Chair Castro, commissioners, if there isn't interest, then we will continue on, but we would probably perhaps an amendment could be that this position, we try it out for 3 months and just have a time frame and then reevaluate, because by then the new commissioners and you as a body, except for the 2 vacancies, would have onboarded and become familiar, because this is a liaison position that is really reaffirming meeting dates, Zoom links, and that's about it, right? It's not, if you have an agenda item or something you want to talk about, that gets funneled through Ms. Tapia as a staff liaison. So it's really already conveying and reaffirming information about meeting times. Agenda packets that are already established, you're not setting the agenda. That is set for Chair Castro and Vice Chair Wrinkle to do. So it's really helping your fellow commissioners make sure that they have the appropriate dates on your calendars, the Zoom links, anything like that. So, perhaps it's a short term, we try it out, see if it works, or we push it to a discussion and action item in January.
Could we see the description, the job description again?
So as you'll notice, not very many responsibilities, responding to inquiries, meeting for dates and times. So if a commissioner has a question about what time are we meeting, what's the date again, they could ask the liaison or the communications liaison, and they could just provide them the date and time. That's one example. Or if they need a link or they need a document, such as the agenda or another copy of the minutes. So initially, I will be the one sending out these documents, but should you need another copy or you don't think that you overlooked it, you want to ask for another one, you could ask the communications liaison, or any other requests that you may have, like, you you want to just mention that there's a error in the agenda or something like that, then you would just direct that to them and they would communicate that to me directly instead of me having to go through 30 emails. It's just more of dwindling down communication lines. But I think Commissioner Villela has her hand up.
Correct, Commissioner Villela.
I do. I guess my question is a little bit about, are we as the arts commissioners not, like I had to ask for the Zoom link again today too. And so, you know, was that in the packet that you sent out last week? I mean, maybe there's a way to give us more detailed instructions to save this and not go back and ask for another agenda and not go back and ask for another Zoom link, because that's for anybody, that's just, you know, not that great. We gotta, you know, be on top of it, I think.
Correct. So the agenda or the Zoom link was included in the packet that was sent to you Thursday night.
Okay.
And as well as it is on the agenda. But that's an example of, you know, the emails that I'm having to respond to is, you know, you maybe overlooked that link and you need another copy of the link. Or, you know, you overlooked a document that was included in the packet email that was sent to you and you just need another copy of it.
So I'm going to suggest that we do move this. Oh, Commissioner Hilton.
Chairman Castro, the third bullet point under responsibilities, I think is something that, at least during this transition period, could be valuable. There's a lot of new people on the commission, including myself, that a little unsure of the lay of the land, and to have the ability to ask questions, ask for materials, and to have those coming through one point of communication could lead to some efficiencies. So I think that's really why I'm in favor of this.
Commissioner Villela.
Sorry, I didn't lower my hand.
Okay, no worries. But I do feel that Director Camille.
Chair Castro, commissioners, one way that we might be able, I feel some hesitancy and uncertainty about this. So one thing that we could try, so I would suggest maybe pushing this until January. What we try is to centralize the communication. So instead of various emails, Ms. Tapia has sent out the calendar invites for every single meeting for 2022. So if you refer to those calendar invites, what we could do, it has a link. We can make sure that we add the links to the agenda. We attach the hard copies to that calendar invite. But that's only going to work if each of you use your calendar, access your calendar, understand. If you don't, then maybe we can sit down and understand, are you using a Mac or a Dell? What are you using? Outlook, Google Calendar, whatever it is, and try to figure out the best way. And if we have to do that, let's try that. And maybe that we can centralize it versus sending you multiple emails so it's in one spot. But that will only work if we have a centralized place, and that makes most sense to be the calendar invite.
Commissioner McKillop.
Yes, I have a question. Is the link the same for every meeting?
The link is not the same for every meeting. It does have to change with every occurrence. And that is generated by me and my Zoom account, and then uploaded with the help of the legislative office to upload that to the agenda and to the Prime Gov.
And I would just say one last thing. One of the reasons I hesitate for me Commissioner Wrinkle to be this person is because we tend to be some of the folks that are a little bit, the reason I didn't get on at the right time is that I clicked the link for the meeting we had before this meeting.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily the person who is giving the direction. I might need a little bit of assistance.
Yes, Chair Castro, I was just trying to understand why I tend to agree with Commissioner Viella that we should be able to keep track of our schedule and of our emails. I mean, if you use Google or whatever your email is, I have two, my UND email. Create a folder for the New Mexico Arts Commission, or the Santa Fe Arts Commission, and put all of our communications into that folder. You can break out that folder if you want, but I do think we should be able to handle keeping track of our information.
Schedule. Commissioner Winkle.
Yes, and I also vaguely recall that we were trying to ease up Ms. Tapia's responsibilities because we were all having to reply to her individually so as to avoid the rolling quorum, so that she was getting inundated with, she sends out one email and she gets, hopefully 9 responses. So how we can maybe make those types of correspondences what we're talking about. Ms. Tapia is the one controlling the Zoom. So if it's a matter of the Zoom link, I can't help her with that except for send her, or help somebody else with that. So it's really more, I would think, the correspondences that Mrs. Tapia is having to deal with that require all of us to answer, individually. So maybe we can keep that in mind for the types of communications we're dealing with.
So what I'm hearing is that I think we need to keep working on this description, that we are not entirely comfortable yet with assigning somebody to this role because we need to work it out a little. Is that correct? Would everybody be okay with moving this to the January agenda after we've had more time to review and email back some suggestions? I'm sorry. Okay, Ms. Martin, am I able to do that even though it's an action item? Move it to the next agenda?
Yes, you are. It would be postponed. Yes.
Great, so I would like to postpone this item, Ms. Tapia, for the next meeting.
You're
And that
postponing action.
Postpone the action.
And
And
no
that moves
motion,
us-
no motion
motion.
is required. No, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and move on, unless Commissioner Mikulak, did you have something to say or your hand is just up? Matters from the committee. Do we have any other matters from the commission? Anybody want to address anything? Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for January 10th.
Commissioner Mikulak had her hand up.
Commissioner Mikulak, go right ahead.
I am so sorry. And this is one of these questions that can only Ermina can answer. And I had sent her an email regarding one event that I did attend that had to do with the library, in Midtown, and some projects that they're working on and so forth and so on. Ermina, do I continue to try to reach you?
Actually, Chair and Commissioner Mikulak, if I did discuss this item with Pauline this afternoon about the UNM and what was the other one? The library,
Yes.
librarians.
Yes.
Pauline, did you want to discuss what we talked about? Or I'm sorry, Director Kamiyama, do you want to touch on this item?
Yeah, Chair Castro, Commissioner Mikulak. So the city department who's working on Midtown, they put forth a call for proposals and awarded community engagement for Midtown to UNM DPAC, which is Department of Planning, Architecture, something. I unfortunately, I don't know the acronyms.
Educational something, educational.
Right. So UNM DPAC has a contract to do the community engagement. They are the ones who worked in partnership with Santa Fe Art Institute to put on the Midtown Block Party. Part of their contract also involves micro grants out to other community organizations. So one of those organizations is the Santa Fe Library Foundation, which is a nonprofit, not associated, not a city department or city affiliated, but a nonprofit foundation. So they received funding in order to do the Fogelson community talks and discussion. So that was one part. other grantees of that was Little Globe, was Earth Care, was Chainbreaker, so forth and so on. So the city has already put an investment on that, and that's run through both our Public Works and I believe Economic Development Department.
Yeah, thank you very much, because there's confusion in my mind about just exactly how broad is our reach in terms of what we fund. So I'm just learning about that. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Commissioner Mikulak, I know we had talked about Earth Care and Little Globe, and those are included in the PowerPoint packet that you'll be receiving that we discussed tonight on how we fund them.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, then we're going to move on to the next item 11, which is our next meeting. It's going to be Monday, January 10th, 5 p.m. Is that correct?
Chair Castro, commissioners, that is correct.
Perfect. So I'd like to just amend that and add the time, 5 p.m. And with that, we'll move on to the next item, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.